You know what time it is.
What's up, beer people?
If you heard it on the hashtag Beer Town, it's true.
It must be true.
It's true. It is fact. Please, won't you name one of your beers Cart Horse?
And just do something terrible. Just shit beer.
Stick your finger in there every now and again.
Stir it with the sock.
Every show, it feels like my first show.
Every show is a new adventure.
Having some good conversation here, Mr. Troy.
Did I make sense there? I think I did.
I love them all.
Are we all fair?
What's up, beer people? Welcome to episode 44 of hashtag Beer Time. This is probably one of my favorite episodes that I've done so far. I think because it's so appropriately timed, given the current state of South African craft beer. I did craft in inverted commas. This episode was recorded at Beer House, so there is a bit of ambient noise. We even get some rain later on, so I have done my best to get that out, but you can still hear the main speakers. Speaking of which, they are Murray Slater, the beer whisperer from Beer House, and the Real Beer Revolution, Mike. And they all bring some very valid points to the discussion. We talk about, is craft beer dead? Is the term dying out? What can we expect in the next few months, in the next few years, not just in South Africa, but around the world? We drink 3 beers, and these 3 beers are from the top, what I think, the top London breweries at the moment. They all have something in common. They are all owned by Big Beer. So this definitely spurs on our conversation and our discussion about craft beer and what's becoming of it. So I really enjoyed recording this episode, and again, I'll say that it's very appropriately timed that I'm releasing this. Let me know what you think, and I really hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Cheers. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy. It sounds a bit different because it is different. We're sitting in the Beer House Long Street Bar, the second room. It's called the Mashton, I think.
That's correct.
And we're sitting with the Prince of Mashing. I don't know why I say that, but his name is the beer whisperer, Murray Slater. Hello, Murray. How are you doing?
Good, thank you, Troy. All good.
And then we have another young, fine English gentleman all the way from the sunny shores of Cornwall.
That's correct.
And he is from the Real Beer Revolution, Mr. Mike, Magic Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Troy. Yeah, yourself.
Cool. So, guys, thank you to our listeners. Hello and welcome. Just so you know, it is in a working environment. So you're going to hear some cars, some squeaky table, some extraction. But I think all that's important is that you're going to hear some beer drinking. I want to get straight into the show. And today what I thought we'd talk about is, well, I guess something along the lines of, is craft beer dead? And we are very lucky that we have 3 of the top craft beers from London. We have 3 beers in our possession from the top 3 craft brewers in London. Let me say that properly. Goodness me. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk amongst ourselves about, is this trend here to stay? It looks like it is. Maybe it's not. But Mike, maybe we can start with you. What beers do we have, and what are we going to start with?
We're going to start with Neck Oil from Beavertown, which is one of their session IPAs, one of their more readily available beers.
Tell us a bit more about Beavertown and what's happened lately with them.
So I think, most people have probably heard that Heineken acquired a minority stake in Beavertown.
For now?
I think they paid... Yeah, well, I think it happened with other breweries as well. Heineken acquired a minority stake to start with. Lagunitas it happened with, and then they acquired 100% of the brewery. I think Heineken's definition of minority is in the high 40s.
Yeah.
Let's not elaborate too much on that, but I think that's quite accurate. And I think they paid something like £40 million for
pocket
this
change,
minority
really?
stake in Beavertown. Yeah.
And I think the reasoning or rationale behind that from Beavertown was that they wanted to build a second brewery, or in short, expand.
They're looking to grow, and they
Move into Europe.
They explored a lot of private equity options and crowdfunding, and they felt that the Heineken model was the best fit for.
I remember reading the
going
article.
forward, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I remember reading the article where it said they did look at other options. They started with Heineken and I thought, this is never going to work. We looked at all those things, and then actually at the end, I thought, well, actually, Heineken is the best fit.
I think Logan Plant used the owner of the business, or was, him and his wife. They've obviously sold some of their shares to Heineken.
I would imagine, yeah.
Logan's actually the son of the lead singer from Led Zeppelin, funny enough. He's got a bit of
Robert Plant, yeah.
Yeah,
I only found that out later.
he's got a famous heritage. But he was actually very outspoken about this whole big breweries buying smaller breweries. So his tune has changed somewhat, which is quite interesting to see.
Which I think is think is why Beavertown. We're going to come on to the other couple that we've got later, but I think it's why Beavertown have probably experienced more backlash than most for these buyouts, is because they were so vocal about independent and big beer and anti-big beer to start with.
It was the same with Tony McGee from Lagunitas. I think he was also very much IPA, non-mainstream, push craft. Mm-hmm. And then I think in the States he had a bit of a 180, similar to Beavertown, where people were very much then off the Lagunitas ship.
Yeah,
I think $500 million will do that for 50% of your business. But in saying that, I think you're right. Tony, him changing his tune has allowed for other people to look at it and go, well, if he's done it and he's growing his business, why can't I? So I think since he's turned, let's say, Logan and other guys have also looked at that and gone, well, I want to grow my business in that model. And so apparently his thoughts on private equity was they weren't in the right mindset to grow a business similar to mine, whereas Heineken is in the beer business. So it makes sense to partner with people that are experts in distribution, and essentially that's what Heineken is, isn't it?
Companies that have, a company like Heineken or AB InBev who've been in the beer game more than we've been alive, more than our parents or grandparents have been alive. So I think you've got that compounded wealth or knowledge stored up in this business. I mean, that's one maybe positive or optimistic way to look at it. But guys, this talking has got me very thirsty.
It's got a good drink for you. It's neck oil.
You don't have to open it that close. It'll pick it up. Okay, so this is
it's the Neck Oil, the Session IPA. It sits at like 4%. What is it? 4.3% ABV. So very sessionable.
Sessionable. Okay, that's. Yeah. I'm going to say that's because of the low alcohol. I mean, an IPA at 4. Anything under 5% is just.
I think that's. I mean, there's a big debate, and I know today's discussion shouldn't really center around it, because there's other more important things to talk about. But the difference between a session IPA and a pale ale is somewhat confusing to me.
Yeah, we've touched on it before on hashtag beer time, and I think
who gave a great answer the other night was that the IBUs should still be up there. The bitterness should still be up there with the characteristics of an IPA,
that makes
but
sense.
The session makes it a lower ABV. So a pale ale would have lower IBUs and lower ABVs, and a session IPA you should still have a higher bitterness and a higher like an IPA level of bitterness, but knocking out that alcohol a little bit so you can drink more of it.
Well, I almost think the session is the opposite of Imperial. Imperial to me is most of the time I find high alcohol.
Yes.
Where session is a little bit lower alcohol.
Yeah.
So maybe that is it.
That's a great. I've actually been wondering what it is, and I quite like that description. So IBUs are quite high.
Gents,
cheers.
Cheers.
This has a fantastic aroma to start with.
Yeah. So. And Philip, again, I don't want to talk too much about the beers. I think it's more about the message behind these breweries.
Yeah.
Murray, as you said, but I mean, this
so
is a beautiful smell.
So you said about distribution before, and I mean, I bought this in Waitrose, one of the supermarkets in the UK, for £1.80, which I mean, even in South African terms, is relatively cheap, but in UK terms, it's up there with other.
Yeah.
What's the local price of a pint in a pub? I know that when I was there, it was £4, which was expensive.
Depends where you go. Probably
in London. Let's stick in London. Yeah. General average.
The places I went to in London, it was much higher than that. But we were drinking like US beers, and half pints were I think like £7 or something.
Good.
But that's not equivalent to
It depends on where you're in London. So where we were set up, it was anything. This is now 5 years ago as well.
Yes.
Which a lot has changed since I lived and worked in London.
There's a reason why I got both of you Londoners, English people, into this show.
I've never lived in London.
Excellent. But talking about that, Beavertown opened a year after I opened my place, Powder Keg.
Okay.
And for a long time, I actually thought it was an American brewery just because of the name and the branding and the style of beers. It's very American. And also they started actually in the kitchen of their restaurant, which was becoming very popular, called Brew and Q, where they did American smoked meats. And it was something different in London. So we originally went there for the food and then found out they had these beers, which were very American, hop forward, which was exciting because, that's at the same time Brewdog were kind of preaching the same hymn, which was hop forward beers, whereas England were always used to your cask ales, your malt forward stuff. So they were timing great. It was perfect.
Yeah, Beavertown were probably instrumental in the, as one of the craft brewers to kind of expand on that American style IPA in the UK, and they have that festival as well, the Beaver Extravaganza,
which from what after the deal went through, I think a lot of brewers simply just pulled out.
They said 46 of the 90 pulled out, and some of them weren't vocal about it, some of them were quite vocal.
So Cloudwater were very vocal about it.
James from Brewdog was vocal about it.
They got a bit of shit for that because they also have some private equity behind them.
Yeah.
So
and I read his response about that. He said that that's a different kind of firm that they've got into bed with, whereas Heineken, the usual story is that Heineken will purchase minority share, and then a year later the full company.
Maybe I can read this quote I got from Adam from Verdant.
Is it a poem?
No, it's not. I'm not a poet. But I think it leads into what you're just saying there.
Yes.
So Adam from Verdant said, it's clear to us that Big Beer isn't in this for the love of modern independent craft beer. Big Beer is shitting itself. We witnessed them buying up modern breweries and adding those brands to their portfolios, and then using those brands to bully buyers into tying up their lines on the bar and generally reducing the market share for independent markets. He said it's not also because we're against the growth of a business. All businesses need to grow, and we get that, but there's always options and choices available to everyone. Beavertown have impressive ambition, and that needs a huge amount of money in order for it to happen. But to make your ambitions a reality by selling out to a global beer brand is just one option. There are many other options, and I'm sure that Logan investigated many routes, but he chose Heineken as his partner. So I think their biggest thing, or a lot of the guys' biggest thing, is that they see the struggle when they go into bars and they can't sell their brands because there's 10 beers on tap. They're all owned by AB InBev or all owned by Heineken, but people think they're buying different beers. You can go and buy. You see it here. You can go and buy a Castle, a Black Label, a Castle Light, a what's it called, Newland Spring, a Carver's Vice. You got like 5 beers with different names on tap there, and you think, oh, they're all different, and
it's a double-edged sword because I'll get to you now, Mario. It's a double-edged sword because you also touched on it earlier with the pricing. I agree with you. Like if you're a small brewer and you're struggling for retail space in a bar, you are gonna. There's an Afrikaans word, sukkel. You are gonna struggle to get any kind of space. But in the same breath, you say you can go into a Waitrose or a shop and buy this, what most people still consider craft beer or non-mainstream beer or different flavored beer.
Well, certainly up until
you can go and buy it at a relatively decent price and enjoy it, and in this case, bring it back to South Africa. And I think as much as I'm a massive craft beer fan, I'm not going to complain against that if I can go and get craft beer cost-effective prices.
But you could before. I mean, this beer I bought after the takeover, but it was in the store before that. It was like I was in the UK when this happened. Waitrose stocked Beavertown's beer. Tesco and Asda stocked 4 Pure, which is I think the next one we're going to have, who also recently got bought out. But they stocked them before their takeover. So I mean, they already had routes into market, and obviously they want to grow. I don't know. I think
Moza, you want to weigh in here, and you're gonna have to talk because we've got some bass music playing in the background.
Yeah, that's,
you're gonna have to up your
some
up your
subwoofer going
pitch.
on there. So it was almost perfectly linked there to your quote from the brewer, Adam. From Verdun. I just asked Matthew Curtis what his thoughts on the matter were. He's the UK editor for Good Beer Hunting, which is an American and a British-based podcast and blog.
Yeah.
And I just said, what are your feelings on it? Because I was chatting about it, and he said, what are the feelings of the people in Britain of this takeover? And it's obviously not just Beavertown. We're looking at Meantime, which is SAB now Asahi. London Fields, bought by Carlsberg. Brixton Brewery has also got a minority. Just did one of those inverted commas minority.
You're going to have to say that when we're on the podcast.
To mime it out. Beavertown as well. AB InBev is Camden, which I think we're tasting today.
We are, yeah.
And then Lion, which you've mentioned, is Forpure, which is an Australian brewery. So,
and Lion's in itself is owned by Kirin, a huge Japanese.
Yes.
I think it's the 9th biggest brewery in the world.
So I mean, this is not what Matthew said. I mean, this is what I picked up in a few articles. You guys touched on it, but Brewdog's kind of mantra, they kind of stood up and nailed like peg in the sand, was hashtag independence or death.
Yes.
But he explains away something which isn't too easy to explain away, but they sold £213 million stake in themselves to a group called TSG Consumer Partners, the $5 billion San Francisco-based private equity firm that owns Pabst, an American industrial lager brand. So there is a link.
Good old PBR.
Yes, there is a link. It is like twice removed.
Sure.
But he's so outspoken about other people, what they're doing. It's like, where do you draw the line? I think this is where this discussion is probably going to angle to. But I mean, what Matthew was saying, the feeling on the street in Britain is consumers think it's business as usual. People in London are discerning. The quality of beer speaks louder than a few vocal folks on social media. This ties into what you were saying, Mike, about the fears which Adam from Verdun quite nicely put together in a quote about them, what they what the modus operandi is to buy breweries and then shut down choice.
Yes.
Basically making their own beers available on their taps, because essentially they're wanting their own volume, which actually in the end of the day is going to shut out smaller breweries and kind of kill the awesome variety that comes with craft beer.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? I mean,
he's just noting that there's a small subset of people who seem to believe that the maneuvers undertaken by global brewers are designed to shut down choice. On the contrary, these folks are looking to do the opposite by building up portfolios. I also don't believe that they are trying to smother small businesses, as they will never be able to, because they're turning circles far too large. Put simply, they are trying to slow decline and get into a healthy growth in order to satisfy the shareholders. So essentially, they are doing it because big beer is in a decline, and they need to. It's essential for their business to buy variety, aka smaller breweries. Because if you look at it, 9 in 10 pints sold in the UK are still mass produced.
I read somewhere that something like 5% of only 5% of the market is craft, and 5% of the consumed market is craft.
And in UK,
yeah.
And it's just the thought process behind it is we should be cheering people that are being successful and growing their craft breweries, because that's the only way the craft brew is going to grow anyway. It's not going to grow. Unfortunately, the romantic notion of it, the guys that are starting in garages, and that's not going to grow the category. Who's going to grow the category are the Beavertowns, the Camdens of the world.
I like what you said about a bigger turn-in circle versus a smaller turn-in circle. And I mean, this is obviously easier said than done. But I think, the craft or microbrewers have always come up against big beer, because you're in the beer industry. Yeah. So they've had to kind of be creative and adapt to the beer surroundings. Yeah. And I think if we look at South Africa 5 years ago, the way that the big guys now got into the beer market were these markets, these artisanal little stores where they started building up a bit of a following, and now they've got to a point where they're now the big guys, and now they've got real estate on the taps, and it's these smaller guys that are coming in, starting from now, trying to get that real estate, trying to get real estate against the big craft, against the mainstream guys, but they can't. But they almost need to adapt, and I think I like that they should have a smaller turn-in circle where they can pivot, or not say easily, but they have more room to adjust. They should in theory, have more room to adjust. Case in points, Rory from Eiger, how he wanted to distribute his bottles and go with taps and kegs, and he just thought, I can't compete on this kind of level.
Yeah.
I need to bring it down. I'm just going to distribute from my tap room in Noordhoek, and what's happened now, he needs to build a second pub in Constantia, and that's how he is adapting. So to summarize up what you said, sort of, like, good for brewers who are doing well and can sell their brewery, because...
But to come back to the topic of your show, is that good for craft beer in the long run?
Exactly.
And, there's two theories, and Murray will argue the other one about getting craft beer out there and on the shelves and getting more and more people drinking it at an affordable price. But if by doing that you're ending up making beer worse, as in like making it cheaper to sell, so you're cheapening the quality of the beer.
So there's kind of two arguments there, and I see what you're saying. But you're saying, okay, obviously big breweries are known for stripping out recipes to make the beer as cheap as possible.
Well, look at Goose now.
Yes.
I mean, Goose is a great example because I never tried it before, but I have tried it now, and it doesn't compete with real craft beers that are out there. No.
IPAs.
No.
So that's one argument. The other argument is from the other side is that it will only increase quality, which is a common problem. But I think there's two breweries really at this stage, and there's nothing in between. There's your big capital-backed breweries that are obviously being invested in now. In South Africa, we've got a few of them. You've got Devil's Peak, Jack Black, Darling, that have serious money put into them. And obviously they were the pioneers in South Africa, and that they would put themselves in the position where their brand was exciting to these investment companies and bigger breweries. But underneath that, you've got a whole bunch of smaller breweries that are kind of jostling for the same shelf space.
Yeah.
Now, what the argument going on at the moment is there's nothing in between. You're either doing what Rory or maybe Greg from Afro Caribbean is doing.
Soul Barrel.
Where Soul Barrel.
Brew
pub, where you're doing a volume across your own county. Your route
90% is
your route to market is coming to you.
Yeah.
That's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is have 100 million rand in a brewery with a distribution partner or company.
Yeah.
The only way to go from small to big at the moment, they're saying to grow, is to take some form of investment, whether that's private equity.
Yeah.
So Logan is sitting there at Beaver Town going, how do I grow? How do I get this ambition of mine? And his ambition is crazy. It sounds awesome, actually. It's called Beaver World.
Yeah.
Where he's building this, I think his capacity now that he's got the money is just short of 500,000 hectoliters.
Nice.
Which is just incredible. And he's obviously wanted this all along. And the only way to get there is to take money from someone.
It's a bit of...
But they did have other options than Heineken. That was the...
They are transparent in saying that.
There was even like the crowdfunding way to go, which you've seen a lot of success in breweries raising.
Yeah, sure. I don't think. I mean, definitely. I mean, BrewDog is a huge example of that, and it's such a great way of going about it. Suddenly, you've got hundreds of thousands of brand ambassadors running around shouting your name.
Definitely, yeah.
So what BrewDog did there was amazing, but at the same time, they've grown their own company somehow internally. Yes, they've probably brought people on board from bigger companies to kind of guide them and stuff. But I think what Logan was after was the experience of Heineken to get him to where he needs to. This brewery, Beaver Town.
To leapfrog.
It's not just the money, but it's also the expertise. And that's what Heineken do. They build big brands. So there's that option as well. You the private equity people won't be able to give you that. So that's
they give you the money. Private equity can give you the money.
Yes,
but they can't. They can't give you that. Those 100 years of history.
The crowd.
But it depends on your. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying that Heineken have built great brands over the years, then maybe I'd agree with you. But they've sold some pretty shitty beer over the years. I mean, you look at the crap they've churned out.
I'm not going to go to try argue that the quality of Heineken beers. Well, when I say quality, that's
quality is
subjective. Their quality is amazing.
I'm not going to argue with you on quality.
They're pretty bland.
But
I think that's everybody's beers because the 1950s after Prohibition in America, when all the craft breweries were pretty much wiped out in the States, the only industry that was left were the big industrial beers, and they purposely tamed down and made beer bland, and that's pretty much what took over across the world. Like in Europe, everywhere across the world, suddenly beer was a thing that you could sell, mass sell for volume, and you didn't want to offend anyone or challenge anyone. So they stripped out all its flavor and they made it refreshing lawnmower type beer. So you can't really blame Heineken for doing that. That's what everybody was doing. But what they're doing now is purchasing brands that can give them, vibrant, exciting beers.
Let me just add on to that. And Mike, I'm going to ask you also to get ready with another beer because I think we need one. I think there's a hope and maybe a belief. I mean, I like to believe that craft beer won't die. It's one, and I say craft, but I think that these new flavors and new characters that have been brought into beer are here to stay. I don't foresee Heineken buying all these craft brands and suffocating them so to push their one lager. Maybe that's me being very naive. But
no, I don't think they're doing it to push their one lager.
I don't think craft beer, no matter who owns craft breweries, I think people are starting to become more aware of these different flavor profiles, so they're not going to want those to go away. If you take away a product that people want, then there's going to be an outcry, and there'll be a demand there.
I don't think they want to push their one product, but I think the problem is that they want to push their range of products to a certain extent that a smaller guy will not have the opportunity to go in there because he won't have anything unique to offer. You'll have Heineken can offer you this and this and this and Beavertown and Jack Black and whatever they can offer you on tap. So what am I going to offer as a smaller independent? And Heineken can maybe pay for my what's the word? Umbrellas,
yes,
or whatever outside, and they'll pay for this, and they'll give me glassware, and I'm walking in with my great beer, and that's all I've got to offer you is my great beer. I can't give you anything. I can't discount it. I can't give it to you what the price they're paying for it. So I can't really distribute my beer anymore because they've sewn up those. And I saw it in England, and I saw it with a craft brewery, with a small independent family-owned brewery in Cornwall. Called St Austell Brewery. They own most of the pubs.
Proper job.
They make some good beer.
Yeah, I like the proper job.
But they own most of the pubs in Cornwall, and they won't let other beers go on tap. They'll sometimes give the publicans, if it's like a franchise type deal, they'll sometimes give the publicans a choice of one beer that they can put on tap that's not a St Austell Ales beer, and then that's it, So you walk into all these pubs and you get exactly the same beers on tap, and you have, you might have 10 beers on tap, but they're all the bloody same everywhere you go. So it looks great, but you got no choice. I
don't want to kill this conversation. I think we're going somewhere, but let's open this Camden Pale Ale from Camden Town Brewery.
From AB InBev,
and this is, I think, 100% owned by AB InBev.
Is it? Yeah.
Someone can correct me on that 100%, but I think it is. You can literally type in Camden Town ownership, and then this big eagle pops up.
And I was in Camden just recently. We stayed in Camden Town. Beautiful town. Didn't go to the brewery because it's owned by
I'm
AB
interested to know a little bit more about this place in Cornwall. It's just a whole bunch of pubs.
Well, I mean, it's a traditional model how old breweries like Young's, even Fuller's.
Yes.
So what they would have,
Fuller's as well.
They basically built and brick and mortar their route to market, like any business would do. You had a brewery which manufactured something, and then you went and built shop fronts, so retail, like anyone would do. But those were pubs, and then they were called tied pubs because you couldn't get your beers in there because the brewery owned it, so only their beers would go on. So it's quite an old school way of doing things, and obviously in Cornwall they still hold on to that. I know those pubs were all going up for sale. I mean, we actually got involved with one and purchased one because they were people weren't getting the variety in there.
Yeah.
People were starting to go to bars that weren't tied and could put on their own range, like a beer house. We can put on our own range here.
So in the UK they call it a free house when they weren't tied to a pub.
And those were starting to become more popular because of the explosion of variety of craft beers in the UK. You didn't want to go to a pub that only had one brewery.
Is it Young's?
Young's is one, yeah.
Is that's a chain that you're going to get? It's almost the interior is the same. Yeah. You walk in and the bar taps are all set up the same.
But that's completely changed recently. Like there's big money going into the old pubs. They're trying to revive them. They're making them look a bit more sexy, especially the Young's group. The one that was opposite me, where I was living in Tottenham Street in Tooting, was a dive.
Tooting Broadway.
Exactly.
dodgy part of London.
It's now one of the most up and coming.
Oh, really?
The whole way down the Northern Line has become like desirable to live because it's
Jeez,
that's a whole
10 years
different
too
story.
early. Okay.
No, exactly. Like I wish I set up a place there, but no, it's booming there now.
Yeah.
Because that's where young professionals are living. So they've actually changed this Dyer Young's pub, which I avoided, called the Castle. I wouldn't have gone in there if you paid me. Just before I left, suddenly it just got transformed into this beautiful place, which had, I think it even had a meantime tank beer in it and everything. So
Before Meantime was acquired by.
SAB now Asahi.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I want to move on to SAB and
AB InBev.
to. I'm still saying SAB, but
SAB InBev.
SAB InBev, AB InBev. Blah, 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 blah. But just to kind of finish off what we were talking about Heineken and them purchasing breweries, and it reminded me of a story. I actually read the book, The History of Heineken. I'm forgetting who wrote it. I think it was Barbara someone, but she did very extensive research on the history of Heineken. And one thing that did actually pop out to me was the maybe ruthless nature is maybe one phrase or term that we can talk about, but they were very relentless in the way that they acquired breweries. We're talking mid 20th century now, where they would, for example, go into France and buy a brewery, and if it simply was not up to their standards or producing a certain percentage of revenue, they would literally close the entire thing, and that was it. Now, this is 50 years ago, so I'm hoping their theory or tactics have changed.
They have been fined recently twice for what you call anti-competitive behaviour, aka what you just been describing.
And Heineken also were last year in Europe.
Well, we're talking about
That's
Heineken.
it.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about. Sorry.
So
I was reading
yes,
the can.
that is a reason why some of the breweries that pulled out of our friends from Beavertown's festival extravaganza is because they cited Heineken's not a company that's really you want to be associated with. So they do have that popping up about them.
They also linked with poor treatment of their workers in some of the breweries overseas. There was cases of abuse towards workers, and
see.
so there is a dark side to. But then I think you could get that with any corporate. And
You could get that with any corporate.
And if you're going to get me onto the argument of corporates, then I mean I wouldn't. That's half the reason why I don't like craft beer selling out, is because I don't really like this whole corporate world that we live in with shareholders and
Yeah, see, that's and I'm glad you brought that up, because we can touch on that. But again, I'm recording this podcast on my Samsung. I've got an Apple Watch.
No, of course.
And I drive a Bentley.
Yeah.
So that's.
And you've got 50 of them in the West Indies.
It doesn't matter, Murray. But I think it's very admirable to say you want to fight the corporate lifestyle,
But-
when you driving your Bentley down
It
luxury lane.
But there's certain areas that you can do that with, and that's why I like craft beer, because that's one area that's flippin' easy to avoid the corporate world if you want to. You can go to a multiple amounts of pubs in the Western Cape now, where you will probably bump into the owner while you are there, and that beer that you're buying, he's employing 5-10 people off of it in the local area, and you can support that local community. Butchers are another way to do that, but it's hard to do that with every aspect of your life. You can't go and get someone to build you a car. That's not so easy.
But I like that you mentioned butchers, because it's weird how the beer industry kind of focuses very much on that personal aspect. I'm almost but waiting for this craft beer phase to blow over, and for people to stop paying so much attention on the other aspects, but more focusing on the flavor profile and the new tastes, the new quality of. This is a food product, and if you look at Cape Town especially, and throughout the world, we're getting the food movement where people are moving away from mainstream, more affluent people, higher LSM, people with a bit more money, upper medium to upper markets, income level brackets. I'm saying mumbo jumbo now, but you get the gist.
Yeah. If you're not just
people
buying
are
food
moving
to survive,
towards the quality of a food. They're not going to just, for example, they're not going to buy cheap white bread. They're going to buy maybe something a little bit more healthier and a bit more tastier in terms of whole wheat and a bit more variety.
And you have artisanal bakers that are around now. That
Sure, you
get
get artisanal bakers, butchers, ice cream makers, even fruit vendors or food vendors, rather. So it's weird how no one looks at who they're employing and what corporation they belong to and stuff like that. So
I don't know. I mean, you take Frankie Fenner in Woodstock. You go in there, you can see Andy Fenner there, the guy that owns it. You can, all the butchers have a good chat to you about
and that's hand cured meat.
Have a butcher's hook, mate.
Yeah,
it's just local.
That's handmade. Beer's handmade.
Yeah.
So it's
just touching on the employment part. I mean, it's just a random fact, but it does point to the fact that Beavertown's new brewery, this mega brewery, this Beaverland, Beaver World, it's going to employ 150 people. So that's quite a lot. Going back to...
They can just hire some of the 200 people that were left unemployed when SAB bought AB InBev. There were like 200 people literally in London who just lost their jobs.
No, it's incorrect. My sister's one of them. They got purchased by Asahi, so they all kept their jobs. They just got Japanese bosses instead of Brazilian bosses.
Nice.
So they survived that. I don't know what happened in the meantime, but Asahi picked up...
So is your sister still there?
Yes, she's still there, and it's not London, it's working. Their offices are in
Working.
which
And
is
sorry,
a commuter town outside.
So when people ask her where she works, what does she say?
Asahi.
Asahi.
Yeah. I mean, that was quite a smooth transition, apparently. And the Japanese bosses are, Japanese companies, they have quite...
Loyalty.
They've got quite cool ways of going about things. You've got Kaizen, which is, everybody has the ability to change a company doesn't matter where you are, for the good. But anyway, that's a different story. But I think employment is a big question when it comes to craft, because one of the things that came up in the State of Beer discussions was how many jobs are being created by the craft beer industry. And in South Africa, we don't know because there's no statistics.
No.
So we don't know how many, kegs are employing how many people, how many barrels are employing how many people.
Yeah, how many litres of beer.
It would be interesting to see that, because the only way that, the craft beer industry can take that to the government and actually fight their case is if they know the numbers.
I think things are being done with the different campaigns that the Craft Brewers Association are trying to push.
There are things afoot.
So I think, I've said this before, we're living in a very exciting time in the South African beer world where this is we've almost finished the initial Wild West stage where there'll be no rules kind of in the industry, and we're starting to get a bit more structure.
All the prospectors that came flooding in, to the Wild
digging
West,
for gold,
digging for their alluvial gold. Some of them, are bootstrapping and not doing a great job. And
now there's a few sheriffs in town, looking at the goodness of the land.
I'm loving this analogy. It's a good angle.
Maybe I should speak with a drawl. I don't know. I could see myself being a sheriff, but no.
These big guys in South Africa now, our biggest enemy to craft brewery, microbrew beer in South Africa is quality. There's big discussions coming up at the moment. How many times have you, Michael, been to a store and pulled out a beer and having to sink it? It's quality is terrible. Yeah. So is this not a good thing that Heineken has purchased 3 breweries in South Africa and going to give us good affordable beer that has good quality and it's clean at least?
Well, just to pick on one of the breweries that they've purchased, they're still not great. Well, they weren't great and they're not great. Okay. And I think you know what I mean. So I don't need to name names.
I think with Heineken as shareholders that will change.
And then take Soweto Gold, who's not one of the other ones I'm mentioning, and
narrowing it down.
And they bought the brewery, and the beer they sell now that's called Soweto Gold is not the same beer that was before. They bought Soweto Gold, I understand, pretty much for the name to try and mass market into a different demographic and or try and push craft beer into a different demographic, and by doing that they completely transform the recipe of the beer. And,
it was a great purchase, if I can say, by Heineken's parts.
Yeah,
Soweto.
I think all 3 of them were. Maybe 2 more than the third, but we won't give names.
Well, I'll go back to that one. I won't mention it.
I think they were great purchases. They're clever.
I think just to go back on that, I mean, when that third brewery was purchased, or a percentage purchased, I almost got my head bitten off on social media because people were saying, what's going to happen? Will the quality go down? And I said, wait, what happens if the quality goes up?
Yeah.
And the price goes down.
And the price goes down.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about the quality going down. And I know this brewery very well. And unfortunately, their beer hasn't been up to scratch lately. And, I was actually excited at the prospect that this big company coming in, purchasing a percentage of their business, their quality would actually go up. Hooray. I'm going to go back to drinking their beer.
I feel I need to clarify now. The original one I was talking about was actually Stellenbrough, not Jack Black. So
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know who I'm talking about. So.
Now I feel like I need to point that one out. 'Cause,
those big cogs of corporates take a while to turn.
Yes.
And this is the thing, the only real thing that microbreweries can do to compete is outmaneuver and use agility. So this discussion we're having about these breweries that have been purchased as beers, quality not potentially getting any better, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Because, when they have to make decisions in Heineken, it takes a long time. Whereas if you want to make a decision as a brewmaster in your own craft brewery, you just make it better.
Which is also kind of a blessing in disguise because you're playing for the long term. You know that it's a long-term decision that you're going to kind of work towards. Guys, before we go on to our next beer, let's wrap up with this
Talk
beer.
about this beer.
The Camden Pale Ale.
much less impressed than the Beavertown one.
But it had more hoppy bitterness, more dankness, intensity.
Way less
didn't,
aroma.
Didn't aroma
Yeah.
exactly. I wonder if it's not old.
It's a can, so it should also last a lot longer.
But Camden, what are your experiences on Camden Town? I know that
This
Master
is-
Brown, my mate in London, used to visit this every Sunday. I don't know if he still does it, but he dug this kind of vibe. I wonder if he still digs it.
Do you know what? We had restocked Camden.
It's only a month. It's only a month older
Yeah.
than Beavertown.
Oh,
so
okay.
We stocked Camden when we first opened Powder Keg in St John's Hill and in bottle, and we didn't stock Brewdog. We didn't stock Brewdog because they were too big already. Because we had this great idea that we were only going to stock the small guys and support the local, small industry.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Anyone we deemed to get too big. I mean, now fast forward 5-6 years, and look who's bought for IBM.
Yes.
I remember them at the time, but the thing is, everybody's taste buds were developing, especially for American hops.
Yes.
Everyone was used to real El Cascale, which is malt
Yeah.
forward.
Yes.
And then suddenly we've got this beautiful fruity hopness. So I can't tell you if they've stripped down the flavor or not, because my taste buds have changed.
Yeah.
But AB InBev are likely to make it more appeal to the mass market, if anything. And hence, I think Beavertown at the moment, and this beer's big difference is, that
Beavertown tasted more like a craft beer that
beer.
you would expect to get in the UK
Yeah.
than that. That was more like a beer you would get in the supermarket.
This was lovely, clean, and refreshing. And I think a majority of people that are entering the beer market and you want to introduce them to an ale, you'd probably do the Camden before you do the Beavertown.
Yeah.
You'd ease them into the other one. So
To be fair as well, the Camden's a pale ale. This is a session
yes,
IPA. So
yes.
I mean,
So exactly different
Yeah.
styles as well.
but
Are these nice breweries to visit?
Beavertown, when they had Brew and Q, had a restaurant, was great, but that's been sold now. He said he was losing hand over fist, like a lot of people in the hospitality industry in London.
Yes.
It's tough conditions over there with the whole Brexit. I think their meat prices went up by 40%. Their employment's gone crazy because a lot of people employed in London are from Europe and probably leaving.
Do we have 5 minutes to talk about Brexit?
No,
Let's
not talk about Brexit.
exactly.
It's a
you don't want my opinion on Brexit.
It's a minefield, so let's stick to the other minefield.
Already
which is
tried
bigger.
to deviate away from capitalism and
Yes, exactly.
the problems with that. So let's not get into Brexit.
Camden Town, I must admit, I've been to the town, of course, many times.
Yes.
And that's where you would
So
usually...
it's the market, right? There's a market there. And
The most vibrant part of London, when you get to kind of get a cross-section of all different people, it was quite liberal.
It's becoming more commercialised, though.
Is
I mean,
it?
like there was tourist groups going around Camden when we stayed there.
When I was
and
there...
it wasn't like there was less rough and edgy.
That's
than
where
it
you
used
went to go
be.
buy mushrooms because it was legal back then.
oh yeah.
And people would stand on the side of the road and have all these Amazonians and they'd talk you through it. So it was quite bohemian, let's say.
Yeah,
It was also, you got offered just about every drug. It was like
You
Brixton.
might have been drinking beer when you were there. You just can't
Brixton
remember.
was safer.
I think maybe the town has been acquired by Airbnb now because it's almost gone a bit more.
Is it bland and beige?
Guys, let's
crack this one, yeah.
let's crack open. Talk to us about this one. Who is this? This is
For Pure.
the newly acquired.
Actually, never had. They opened a long time after I left.
So you can buy this before they got bought out by
Australians.
Kirin or
Lion?
the Australians.
It
Lion.
was Lion Kieran, yeah.
Yeah, you could buy this in the supermarket anyway. I think I got this in Morrison's or Tesco or Asda or
the same guys that
one of those.
own Little Creatures in Fremantle, which is Western Australia.
And Little Creatures was
Little Creatures
the
Pale
big
Ale
Australian craft brewery.
was probably the third craft beer that I came across after Sierra Nevada and Anchor Steam.
Oh, really?
It really took on London and actually showed a lot of people in London what they were missing. It was an exciting brewery and it made a very good beer.
Has Sierra Nevada been bought out?
No.
Because I had a Sierra Nevada in the UK from the supermarket as well. Also for £1.
Is that Ken Grossman?
No,
Who's Sierra Nevada? Is it
Ken Grossman, known as the first billion-dollar brewery. But
Seriously unimpressed.
When you
as
say
well.
brought out, he's obviously taken diluted equity to get to that billion,
But not by Big Beer.
but not by Big Beer, as far as I know. They don't quote me on that. But I think that would have been brought up because they're the poster kids for the craft beer.
Yeah. But that was quite disappointing. I was quite excited for that.
Which one?
Sierra Nevada.
Pale Ale.
Yeah.
But I think taste buds have changed, and I think you would like
Possibly.
to. Yeah, and also we maybe want to talk about Blockhouse. Is it our taste buds have changed, or is that
You're talking about obviously what's still considered the number one IPA in South Africa, but that could be changing due to certain taste bud profiles. But I think my answer on that is that yes, my palate has evolved, but I still think the King's Blockhouse by Devil's Peak has changed in terms of IBUs. I think that's a fact.
Yes.
They've gone from 65 IBUs to 55 maybe.
Did you try it unfiltered?
I did at the recent IPA day at their tap room.
How was that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They can keep doing that. I actually suggested to JC, as hard as it is to do that unfiltered IPA, they should have that all the time at their tap room.
Well, I think that was the argument we had here, and I don't think it's that hard to do it at the tap room, especially if they do it at their tap room in Epping. I don't think it's difficult at all.
And it makes
as
it quite
as soon as you distribute it, then it becomes a problem.
That's another SKU. Yeah.
But if you have it in house and distribution's your own problem, I don't know, it could be a very big selling point.
It's almost like a cask ale where you need to sell it within a few days.
Yeah, but I mean, what about it? If you can buy Blockhouse anywhere now, because you pretty much can buy Devil's Peak's beers anywhere. But if you can only buy unfiltered Blockhouse in Epping, then it gives you a reason to drive to Epping.
Let's before we jump straight back into South African beer, let's go back to Four Pure.
Yes.
Where are they on the Bermondsey Mile?
Yeah, they're on the beer mile.
I don't know what that
whatever,
is.
yeah.
What is that?
It was. They kind of dubbed it the beer mile back along, didn't they? Where the breweries were opening up and.
a lot of breweries open up in one space, which was
Like the Woodstock area or what?
it was slightly unfashionable, and just boomed for beer. The nice thing about London is the ability to open up breweries in non-industrial parks. Their licensing laws are quite relaxed, and also they got some serious tax breaks. That's why they boomed. I think when I lived there, when I first moved to London, I can't tell you, but it was minimal. There was probably 5 big breweries in London, and they're all the traditional ones like Fuller's.
Yeah.
And now there's something like over 100.
Yes.
And they got tax breaks. They're employing people.
And there's a flipping London association. I mean, you have to have an association when you've got 100 brewers.
Yeah.
I think there's more. I know there's 2,000 in the UK.
No, there was. The last stat I saw was I think 100, 140. But I mean, but regardless, that's a big increase in
For sure. Yeah.
What in 12, 10 years.
Yes,
It's
yes,
an
yes.
incredible increase. But
Yeah.
they can open up anywhere. So if there's a bridge going up somewhere, they have these arches underneath.
Yes.
And case in point, Red Church, a guy who I knew opened up when I was there, and I went and helped him clean his mash tun out. Basically slave labor, but it was fun.
But you got some beer.
I got beer, and that's all I wanted. But yeah, it basically really close to high density areas of people with expendable income. So that's why it's sustainable over there. Whereas in South Africa, your breweries have to be in industrial places.
Yes.
So you have to, well, not necessarily. Okay, there's different. Greg in Suburbia from Afro-Caribbean and Rory from Noordhoek, which is also kind of suburbia, are 2 exceptions. But mostly our breweries are in industrial areas. So you kind of have to give people an excuse to come out there. And that's not easy, being a destination.
Yeah, it's two very different climates industries.
You have to put a lot of capital into marketing your business to get people to come to your brewery. Whereas if you're right next to, say there's a brewery here with a tap room, hopefully Old Murray from Meadow Lane opens a tap room. because that's really close in town. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah, it's something we don't have. Eh? We don't
have it.
And you have to go to Woodstock or.
And it's such a great atmosphere going to like after work to a brew pub and everything else. And little guys need that support.
Totally changed my lifestyle. Not for the, I don't know, for the better.
And so we went off to and back onto South Africa, but 4 Pure did a collab with Devil's Peak just before their takeover, and they sold out 100% to Kirin or to Lion or whoever bought them, but they sold out 100% of their
and they were pretty much I want to say like unapologetic. They just kind of said straightforward.
Do you know the
things are going to change?
Yeah, but the biggest difference about 4 Pure and Beavertown for me was that 4 Pure have never spoken out badly about companies selling out to big beer. They always had it as their sort of goal, where they were always going to grow the business. And yeah, you're right. I mean, in their statement, one of the first lines was things are going to change. We wouldn't have sold to Lion if we didn't want things to change. We would have kept. You wouldn't have sold out, would you?
Yeah.
It's the whole point of selling and
get an acquisition. Yes.
And they come in like a couple of weeks after Beavertown, and they didn't really seem to get any flack for it. Not that
it was pretty good. Pretty good timing.
2 points on that. I think I don't know his second name. I mean, I don't know his first name. I don't claim to. But Odlo from he's one of the owners. I think they're brothers that founded 4 Pure. He said basically it's difficult because at some stage a brewer's ambition is going to put him in odds with the craft beer fans because he needs to grow. And he just said, the craft beer fans want you to stay small, but in a capitalist world, your business, you either grow or you die.
Yes.
And you either take other people's money to help you grow. But he says we can't pretend to have financial collateral or experience required to get this done alone. So,
but did you see that story in the States? I can't remember the name of the brewery now, but they also AB InBev tried to buy them, and the guy even went to meet with him. He had no intention ever of selling to AB InBev, but he went to the meeting anyway because I don't know, he felt like it.
Yes.
So and they ended up selling to their employees. So they sold a 50% share to their employees, and now their employees own like a stake.
That sounds like New Belgium in America.
Yeah.
In the States
okay, it wasn't New Belgium, but did they do something as well?
Yeah, they did something that basically opened up equity to their employees, which is a marvelous idea. But
it's very forward thinking. I'm very pro that.
Yeah, I mean that's going to help you build your business, but it's not going to give you capital.
Well,
you could argue it'll give you maybe a little bit of capital, maybe a little bit of expertise.
You also have a whole lot of employees that are vested
definitely
in your company now.
Definitely gives you a good
feeling,
good ticket into heaven.
Yeah.
And not just that though. I mean, you have people working for you then that aren't just working a job. They feel like they're part of your
invested. But also when you're buying their beers, you know that money's going.
Yeah.
It's going into that community.
Yeah.
And one of the big arguments against these big purchases is your money, you don't know where it's going anymore. You're not supporting a guy in a community.
Yes.
You're actually just throwing it into multinational coffers. And where that goes, who knows? What they're using that to lobby.
Yeah.
And the evil conspiracy theorists will come tell you that, it's all sorts of nasties that run those big companies. And they're using your money to enjoy your beer to lobby against, things like the gay communities or other liberal ideals.
And I have seen some very horrific articles about that.
Yeah.
As you said, anti-gay, anti-bi communities and stuff that I was like, this can't be true.
Yeah.
There's no way this is true.
Yeah, it got a little bit out of hand. But I mean, at the end of the day, what you do know is when you're buying...
you're going to have to talk up a bit because now we've got rain.
Which
the people in the bar. So you're going to have to speak up.
Should we open this beer in the meantime?
Yes.
Yeah. Were you finished?
I just wanted to say, when you buy Uncle Jim's beers that are around the corner...
Make sure it's from Uncle Jim.
You know that Uncle Jim is there.
Yes.
And he's enriching his family and the community that are working for him. That is the ideals of craft.
Yeah.
But whether that's an ideal and a romanticism that really exists, I don't know. This is where the argument. This is the cusp that we're on at the moment. Is it good that we ask these companies to stay small, or
let's crack open this beer because we're entering the last. I feel like all the wheels are coming off the show now, including mine.
Your editing skills are going to be put to use.
Yeah.
So this is one of the 4 Pures. Whoa. One of the 4 Pures.
440 ml can, I noticed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one of their collab series.
And all cans.
course.
It's quite. I like
This
the
is not
label.
the one they did with Devil's Peak. I drank the one.
I
with
like the
Devil's Peak.
labels, the peel-off labels. I like the artwork, and I like the fact that they've gone. I think it was 7 or 8 brewers around the world. Can you remember?
6 continents. It was one in each continent.
Oh, okay, that's easier to remember.
Yeah. My geography's right, eh?
This
I
beer.
think so.
So this, who's that? Two birds.
Two birds.
I don't know where they are, but we can find out if we open this label.
Maybe they're Australian.
Continental collaboration, and so they did a collab with South Africa's Devil's Peak.
Yep. It was very nice beer.
And
was
did you
the
try
beer?
that beer?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was very nice.
What was the beer again? I can't remember.
Also an IPA.
It's very nice.
Is that what it's called? A very nice
It was a very
beer.
nice beer.
It's Australia, you're right. No.
Two birds, mate.
So
I'll
let's.
tell you now.
Oh, that's very clever.
I mean-
I've never seen anything like that before.
What, the pull-up labels?
Have you ever seen them?
Only on Mike's Instagram.
That's
If guys,
so
if you want
good.
to see what we're talking about, go to Mike's Instagram.
That's brilliant.
Real Beer Revolution.
Real beer. Guys, let's kind of wrap up the show because it is getting rowdy, including myself. But let's kind of answer that question of if craft beer is dead, or are we going through a transition? Murray, I'll start with you. What are your kind of future projections?
I think we should leave the word craft behind. And if we think about beer as a growth industry and talk about it as a business, then we wouldn't be getting upset about these acquisitions. What I do feel that needs to exist, people like Mike, who holds breweries and bars and bottle stores accountable for quality, is that the fourth estate, which is the consumer, needs to rate beers and needs to hold people accountable. So if a South African brewery that's purchased by a big brand starts to make beers that are dumbed down and bland, then people need to talk up about that and walk away from it. But from my opinion, I believe that big breweries purchasing into craft breweries or microbreweries is progress. And at the end of the day, the end consumer is going to see that progress. It doesn't mean that it's always going to go hunky-dory. I think that some big brewers will, as Mike pointed out, use it as to maneuver to destroy choice, to make beer cheap again, but also make it bland. I think there's enough competition out there that people have been woken up to this revolution, and it's not going to go away. People aren't going to go, listen, I'm happy to go back to my bland old beers again because it's cheap. I think our taste buds have been invigorated too much for that.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it.
Invigorated. That's the word I was looking for earlier.
This beer is invigorating me
Yes.
actually, right now.
Mike, your thoughts? Again, the same question.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Craft beer dead?
it's not dead.
What are your projections?
It's not dead, but I think we will see a change, and I hope we see a change. The way I hope we see it is we see more venues, like we see more brewery-only venues like Soul Barrel, like Agar, like destinations that you want to
Afro-Caribbean, yeah.
Afro-Caribbean, the guys that you want to go and visit, you want to meet, you want to speak to the owners, you want to buy their beer from the source. I think we'll see a shift away in this national distribution of some of the smaller guys. Obviously, the bigger guys that are in it now, or the ones that have been bought out, have kind of done it to get their beers around the country. But I hope, or I think, we'll see more local produce being kept local. So if you're in Joburg and you want to go to Mad Giants, or you want to go to Frontier up there, you go to the venue and you buy the beer from them. If you're and there's plenty, and there's choice now. That you don't have to complain because you're in J Bay and there's Brouhaha there is amazing. You can go and visit them, or in PE you can go to Richmond Hill, or in East London you can go to Table 58, or in Durban you can go to that brewing company. There's plenty of good breweries that you can visit, and there's a fantastically big brewery, East Coast Brewing Company, that's opening up in Durban. I haven't tried their beers, but they got a lot of bucks.
They've been trying to open for the last 2
open
years.
for a while. I have tasted their beers. They're all right, but they seem to have stumbled for. They've been open for at least a year and a half.
But we've heard very little from them.
Every now and again, you see spurts of it on social media. But
I mean, their brew house is as good as
Yeah.
any in the country.
I think it's like the Red Rock.
It's gear,
of,
I think,
of
isn't it?
KZN in terms of that kind of equipment. I think I had something very heartfelt to say now.
I can jump in. I've got something.
Yeah, you go ahead, and I'm going to interrupt you when it comes.
Go for it. Just cut me off. But I think what Mike was talking about, once again, the ideals of craft, keeping it local, drink local. That's what craft breweries are supposed to be, was the communities around those breweries are supposed to feel a sense of pride. This is our beer, this is our community, let's support it. But unfortunately, with this capitalist world we live in, where volume and having to grow your business is the only way to survive, really, is it? But that is the question that brewers have to ask themselves, is that you have to distribute your beer. And the problem there is beer in its purest, nicest form, that shouldn't be distributed. You should drink it from the source.
Yeah.
It's a fragile product. So going to a brew pub is the best way to taste a beer.
Some of the best beers in the country don't distribute.
Yes,
and this, we touched on some great stuff and maybe some solutions or answers for the guys who are struggling, because based on local and distribution, I think the guys who are suffering right now in South Africa are the guys who are distributing outside of the province, outside of their local area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at an example of Gauteng. You mentioned a few brewers. Maybe that's what Gauteng or the Joburg-based brewers are doing well, is that a lot of them, and to my knowledge, don't distribute around the country. I think I stand to be corrected, but the majority of them are their destination
They
brewers.
would like to, though, Troy.
They would like
The
to.
problem is that the market here in Cape Town is too saturated. And what also has happened is Cape Town brewers stole the march in Joburg brewers and went and put their brand in everybody's faces in Joburg.
Yes.
Jack Black. Everyone drinks Jack Black in Joburg.
Yeah.
Because they were first in and they got their brand out.
And also CBC. I mean, they're
And
everywhere in
Darling,
Joburg as
yeah.
well. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly. All the Cape Town breweries dominated.
they
and
did,
that's
yeah.
what the Joburg breweries are having to deal with now.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're in Joburg, then you should be buying three of
Mad
the
Giant.
Mad Giant, Agar, or Frontier.
Yeah.
I don't think I've left anyone out of that list.
We actually
I'm sure there's some.
a bit of shameless marketing here, but at Beer House we focused on that. We've always seen ourselves as a podium for local microbreweries to shine on.
Yeah.
And we have created something called Drink Local, which is a campaign, and also you get a tasting tray. On that tasting tray, you've got 6 beers from beer houses, from breweries within 20 kilometers of a beer house.
Yeah.
And essentially trying to bring that concept of craft back. It's like you're supporting your community. Murray Meadow Lane is 200 meters down the road here. We love to push his beer because he is local and he's going to be supporting, he's going to be hiring lots of people and expanding.
Yeah.
So these are people we want to push. But they're not pasteurized, so you can't send them around the country.
No, and also I had a discussion with Ibn at Mad Giant recently about his beers in Cape Town, and they can't check on them as much. Murray can, if Murray's beer's on here, he can come in here, he can taste his own beer, and if it's crap, he can tell you it's crap, and it's either his fault or your fault. But it's simple. You can find the
And
problem.
I'm pretty sure that's how the majority of successful brewers in the States and the UK, that's how they started. They kept it small. And then they expanded to different states, different provinces.
You've got different ambitions. You've got people that just want to satisfy maybe their family's needs and lifestyle and potentially enrich their own community. And you've got people that want to put their names in the headlights, changing the world kind of ambitions. And I think someone like Logan Plant from Beavertown took that money because he wants to be that person.
Yeah.
Whereas, Rory, I don't want to jinx him. He might be offered 500 million by Heineken one day.
Well, we called it here. I'm sure we're entitled to a percentage.
Well, no, he can be offered it.
But he's building his business organically and slowly, and he's about the beer and the quality of the beer and wanting to spread that message. So,
And his beers this last weekend at the Woodstock
They were
Winter Beer
amazing.
Festival
I
were
only had one because I was a little bit hungover from Beer House's birthday, but the beetroot rye.
How cool was that?
The beetroot
that was
rye,
very
yeah.
different. I don't think it was really for me, but
it
but I
was.
still enjoyed it.
It was
It
definitely
tasted
for
like
me.
beetroot. It tasted like a beer.
I walked in with a hangover, and usually with a hangover you want a juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw beetroot, and I was like, "That's so good for your liver. I'm going to have that." And then I was going to have the marshmallow stout, but then sold out.
Marshmallow Stout was amazing. The milkshake IPA was fantastic. That's something
I
I
couldn't
think.
believe how milky and creamy and then hoppy it was.
That's something I think he'll actually. He was talking about it, and he's going to make it better the next time as well. So look out for that one.
Sure, we're
Guys,
getting a lot of airtime.
we've got a lot of great airtime, and I think it's a good place to wrap it up. And as I say, wrap up. I mean, it's kind of just died down. The traffic's died. The extraction's gone down. The crowd.
I've got to go home and make some ramen now.
You got to go make some dinner. I've got to go home and make some dinner.
I don't think we're sticking around for this Verdant we got in here. But,
Oh, we might as well stick around and have a sneaky post beer.
Can we edit that out?
Yeah, we can edit it out. Any last words from you, Magic Mike?
Last words. Sure.
Ooh, tough one. No, I mean, just going back to what I was saying, like if we see this, if we develop on this drink local thing, and if people support more local brands in the area, then I think the craft industry will grow for the better. And I'm not saying that I'm really not saying that Jack Black and CBC and Devil's Peak and these guys don't have their place. They do, but they're going to be the guys bringing people into craft. And once people get into craft, then I think they need to try and discover more local sources of it.
Mr. Murray, last words?
I think educating the consumers to that experience and making sure that they are getting shown towards quality beer. Because it's all very well saying drink local when they buy something for 50 Rand, that's off. So that's tricky, but I think it's about educating the consumer about going to a brew pub, going to a quality beer place and enjoying it, and knowing that they know where their money is going to enriching their community or to a person rather than the coffers of big breweries. But I still believe that these purchases are good for beer, and it's going to make styles like IPAs, which are obviously in the States the most consumed style of beer, these exciting beers more mainstream. They're taking the beer to the mainstream. We can't sit as we are at the moment and expect to grow the market without these guys helping us and pushing it forward.
It's like your favorite hipster band. It's going to go mainstream sometime.
Oh, or what's that coming over the hill?
Yeah.
Is it a monster? Is it a monster?
Cool, guys. Well, I will say in my summary is that I agree with everything you've said.
Awesome.
Just to wrap it up. But yeah, I think anything I do kind of say, it will be a repetition of what you guys have said. But I will say this last thing, and that is we're living in a very exciting time for beer, for craft beer in Cape Town, in South Africa, in the world. And if you're listening to this, I think you are one of the lucky few who are riding along this awesome journey. So
The Beer Time Wave.
The Beer Time Wave. But I suppose, Beer Time not focused on me, but also everyone else. Just no matter where you are in the world, it's always Beer Time.
Nicely done.
Guys, thank you very much.
Cheers, Troy.
Cheers,
Thanks for having me again.
Ciao, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for #BeerTime. That's #BeerTime written out in full. Hope you enjoyed the show, and check you next time. Cheers.